don't have to create a new. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Here we go, everyone. Live, and this is episode 58
Finally
of
live.
I know, everything Teams Phone Live. A little bit of a delay. We had some technical difficulties this morning. You'd think that if you got engineering on staff, that they could help you out with the PC. I'm kidding, everyone. Had nothing to do with that. It was a logistics issue. I had to travel this morning, but I really wanted to make this episode because it's pretty awesome. We've got a new application that we're unveiling. Brandon's going to give us a live demo of what that looks like. It's also the premiere of our new Momentum branding, so that's fantastic. The Momentum branding is on here. I'm excited to kind of plaster the branding everywhere, if you will. But this is exciting because we've got a couple of really interesting use cases that we're going to share with you. We did launch the beta program, Brandon. We're just going to hop right into this thing. We launched the beta program for our our Fax to Teams application, and Brandon, we did that yesterday afternoon, and there's something like, I don't know, 2,000 requests in there um, for fax lines sort of in the beta program. So it's crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy. Um, Everyone out there that's in, I'm going to say North America, because you can see on the LinkedIn, you see all of our European friends going, "Hey, what what's this fax thing about? Didn't we kill that 10 years ago?" And so North America is very much alive when it comes to faxing. It's like the thing that will not go away. Healthcare, government agencies, schools, insurance and finance, they all use faxing still. So we're going to do a cool demo of that. Brandon, and you have more for us in store. You've got some real technical real technical demos to show us today. What do we have in store today?
Yeah, this is gonna be a pretty fun demo. And you know how demos go. I'm sitting here crossing my fingers, my toes, if you see my dog behind me, he's crossing his little paw, whatever you call him.
I'm not.
His
I'm
little
knocking on
toes.
some wood.
But first of all, fax, a lot of people say, well, fax isn't that exciting. And it's not that we necessarily disagree. I think what we get excited about is how we're taking an ancient technology and we're innovating into the modern workforce era, right? So the idea behind our fax solution isn't that we're reinventing fax as a solution under the hood. It's that we're taking it and we're uplifting it and we're refreshing it into this modern work collaboration business flow. So what we're going to demonstrate today is more, you've got I'll call it your unified communication stack or your collaboration stack. I tend to also kind of steal the word from the contact center environment and call it omni-channel, right? Because in today's business world, you really do work in kind of this omni-channel communication fashion where I might be chatting with one person, I might be sending an SMS with the next person. And ultimately, there's businesses that legitimately need to communicate via fax lines. So what we're doing is we're bringing fax into Teams, and we're going to bundle it with that collaboration solution, right? So you've got your calling, your texting, all of these tool sets that you would expect to have, and we're layering in fax as kind of that, I'll call it the cherry on top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate how, now that we've moved fax into the modern work collaboration stack, we can now take that and we can automate business workflows. So now we can do things like what I'm going to demonstrate today. It's a basic demo, but I'm going to tie that fax solution to a Power Automate that then takes that fax. So if I receive the fax into Teams and I securely store it in a SharePoint, I'm now going to use Power Automate to lift that fax over to my CRM. In this demo, it's going to be Salesforce, but for healthcare, think Epic, Cerner. For other companies, it can really be any CRM of your choice. But I'm going to move that fax over
Right.
in the demo. I'm going to open kind of a work item or a case, and I'm going to show that workflow can now be shifted to your CRM, and you can work out of your CRM for your other business flow cases. So it's pretty cool how we're taking old technology and we're just shifting it into this modern work perspective.
Well, it's interesting. You know, one of the things that you think about when you think about Teams, and I'm popping onto the to LinkedIn here to answer some questions. But if you think about it, you know, Microsoft has this really cool. There's a couple of different. I'm going to talk about circles or spheres, if you will. Right? You're talking about components in the greater Microsoft ecosystem, right? You're talking about Power Automate.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a tool that we're using to automate workflow. Okay, and that's coming from a fax, automating the workflow, delivering it into a CRM, a Cerner, an Epic, Salesforce, whatever it's going to be, right? So that's one ecosystem component, right? That's the tools around the Microsoft platform, Power Automate. The other one is an organization's workflow. Okay, so if you've got chat and sharing and phone calls and now fax, and you bring that whole workflow right into Teams, you know, we call that here, Brandon. It's like we're Teams is like the communications operating system for a business.
Yep.
There becomes fewer and fewer reasons, if you're a knowledge worker, intelligence worker, to leave the ecosystem, right? I mean, there's you know, if you collect your email in Microsoft Teams, if if you're chatting with individuals, you're collaborating. Um, we saw a good demo on Loop. So this whole ecosystem, shout out to the Loop guys, sorry. I briefly just kind of ran over that. Anyway, we'll talk about Loop on some other show. But ultimately, you've got the workflow, right? And then the greater Microsoft ecosystem, what that does is really bring that into perspective and help you accomplish a cleaner workflow. So you're bringing faxing now into the workflow. And I think that's pretty important. Let me just give you an example. How many of you hate getting a fax from someone? And it could be an electronic fax. You could get it in your email. You open it up, and then you got to go do something with it. You got to go print it. You have to go fill it out. You have to, save it, store it, refile, rename it. What a massive drag it is to have to deal with that stuff. Anyway, we've got a roadmap and a product that we're going to show you that's going to help with some of this stuff. Anyway, Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we should just kind of dive into the demonstration and kind of, you can just kind of cue in your questions, or if questions come in. I'm not going to be paying attention to the channel to see if there's questions coming in. But yeah, I
I,
think we
I
just
got you, buddy.
we just dive into it and we kind of talk about use cases, and but before we do that, I'm gonna take a step back, and I'm gonna just show a sloppy diagram of kind of the logic that we've taken, because the first thing I think I need to do is I need to do a kind of a big shout out to our developer team that's sitting out there developing this application, because this is a Momentum developed application. This isn't something that we've taken off the shelf and we've rebranded or anything. We've gone in and we've from scratch built this application, with Teams as the focal point of the solution, right? And then built away from Teams into our data centers, into our application clusters, and then back out to the PSTN. So, um, just a really high level diagram that shows, Momentum's got a bunch of data centers out there. We've got a whole bunch of servers sitting out there. We have a whole bunch of fancy code running. Our developers are developing not only in the Momentum data centers, but they're also developing up in the Microsoft Azure ecosystem, right? The Azure cloud services, the communication services, and all of that, and tying it all together to make this app that I'm about to show, a reality.
I
So
just
big.
want to know why you're still using this old drawing right here, Brandon. Like this is like stick figures, man.
I've
We're like 2024.
Yeah, I've got the marketing diagram. I just, didn't have a ton of time to digest that marketing diagram to
We thank you anyway, marketing. We
yes, we
thank you
thank
anyway.
marketing, but I just didn't have time. So, really that we're just showing here that we're taking traditional fax off the PSTN, the telephony network, into our data center. We're processing that into electronic data that we can then feed up into the application and convert that to PDF and drop it into the the Teams environment, and then tie it to SharePoint. And then from there, this diagram doesn't show now the Power Automate stuff that will go tie off and push data off into Salesforce. So what do you think with that? I think we should just maybe hop right into.
Before you do that, I want you to show the new landing page, the new graphics page with all the different boxes versus just that one box with the circle. Can you do that?
You're talking the beta sign up page.
Oh no, we could start with the beta sign up page. No, I'm talking about the image of what the landing page is going to look like, um, with the different stats, kind of the stats page, if
Oh
you will.
yeah. You're talking the fax app. Yeah. I'll do that.
Yeah, but we
But
can show the beta page. So you wanna cue the beta page?
I've got the beta page. Yeah. Yep.
There we go.
I'll let you speak to beta.
So just as a way to kind of line up the organizations that we want to go and sort of work with to further develop the platform, because there's a lot of, I mean, we presented this to Microsoft, we presented this at Comms V Next, and we've got a lot of feedback, and it's fantastic because everything that we've been, I don't know, there's been 5 or 6 different recommendations or requests that we've now put into the roadmap, because they've all been very, very good, and help us further develop the application. But basically, we wanted to take this into some organizations where we think that it's important for them, healthcare organizations, some government agencies, and some other legal organizations. But we're working with a lot of different organizations to really, you know, kind of put the pressure test on this, right? And let's go see what you guys need from a development perspective, because there's a lot that we can bring into this tool to make faxing really, really simple, and really, really clean. So we put this beta page out. We'd love to see you sign up for it. If you're interested in the beta, go sign up. Tell us how many fax lines you're looking to replace with a fax to team solution. And our first one that we ended up picking up was 1,600 lines, a massive, massive healthcare organization. And so it's like, if you're a healthcare organization, you know and you're looking at replacing fax, come and do it. Just throw yourself in the beta. We'll give you a buzz, and we'll talk to you about sort of what we'd like to do with you, and we'll go from there. We're gonna basically finalize the list of beta customers uh, uh, just into June, the beginning of June, and then we'll take those customers into beta that we're working with, and then we'll work with them for a period of time. I think it was, what's the cycle is what we thought it was going to be, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I forget what the cycle is going to be, and then we're going to run you into GA. So that's the sign up page right there. It's on the Momentum site. Here's the link. We'll put the link in the chat, and off we go, Brandon. So that's it. Let's get into the app.
Yeah. All right. So assuming you sign up for beta, or once we get to production, you sign up for production. One of the first things, and I just want to pull this out just because if there's technical people listening, they're going to want to know this. The way we've designed this application from an Entra ID perspective, so that's the new, if you don't know, that's the new Active Directory. But from Entra ID's perspective, it's a enterprise application that we pair into your Microsoft tenant, and that's what gives us, you grant consent to our fax application, and that's what allows us to seamlessly deliver that fax off the PSTN network up into your environment, whether that's to the user, to a group, to a SharePoint, etc. So just know this works like any other application that you've paired to your tenant. We're not doing any one-off stuff there that you wouldn't be familiar with from a security perspective. We're taking the least privileged approach, again with compliance in mind, where all of these data flows are going to be encrypted to the strongest standards for that HIPAA, PII, all of that type compliance. So once that's installed, then you obviously will have access to the Teams application, where you can add it to Teams. So I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to pull up the Teams app. And Rick, you'll notice on here, and our viewers will notice on here that it's pretty small probably on the screen, but you can see there's this new icon that showed up down here, pretty small, but it's our new fax app. So now you can see that it's just another one of collaboration channel for your collaboration unified stack. So
I like it.
Let's go ahead and launch into that. I think this is what you wanted me to show, right? The stats page.
I wanted you to show the other stats page. That's the image that shows all the stats.
I got it. I don't have that on this computer. I have it on my other computer. This is, yeah, for those viewing, this is our alpha version of the app that my developers are working on. This will not be the same look that we go out to beta with. The dashboard will have more statistics on it. It'll have a little more feature-rich functionality from a reporting perspective, but from a fax functionality perspective, it's going to be very much the same. So I have a few faxes standing by, people waiting to send me some faxes. But before I have them do that, I'm just going to pop down to settings and point out a couple things. There's not a lot to this. We will have an admin portal that allows the company admins to set up compliance guardrails around how faxes get delivered, where they get stored at, and ultimately the goal is to let you own your data in your storage. We're gonna start out with SharePoint OneDrive integration. There may be other integrations coming for data lake type things or S3 storage, that kind of stuff. And even further down the road, there may be an API that we open up that allows native integration into other apps like Epic or Cerner for healthcare, that kind of stuff. But today it's SharePoint. The customer owns the SharePoint. This is not a SharePoint site that Momentum as the carrier holds. It is customer owned. And so you set up the desired location. Today, I'm going to send this off to a SharePoint site. I've named it Demo Fax. And then I'm going to show you what you can do with that SharePoint here in a second. So with that, I'm going to come over to my receive faxes, and I'm going to have a couple people send me a fax. So cue the fax.
I was going to say, that's actually a thing. Cue the fax. That's pretty funny.
Oh, look, we got one just popped in, and we should see another one pop in here in a sec. Oh, there's the other one popping in. All right, so you see, I've got, and these are real faxes, right? I know, some people might be thinking, your developers are doing something. My
video.
Yeah, my developers aren't doing anything right now, right? They're actually, it's probably way past midnight.
Sleep.
So they're probably sleeping. So this is an actual real fax. I'm gonna pop it open, and oh look, I actually showed that it was a real fax. I took a screenshot of our title page for episode 58, moving fax into your modern workflow, and then I had it faxed over to me. So there you go. There's our banner for everything.
I love it.
Okay, so if you remember from the demo fax SharePoint that I set up, I actually also tied that to a Teams group. So if I come over to the Teams group and I go to demo fax, which I'm a member of, so remember, I can make my team members a member of this as well. And now I can create a spot where I can automatically dump faxes. I haven't dumped the fax there yet, but I will. I just wanted to show this is the site that we're going to tie the fax to. And when we go to beta, it's going to be an automated feed into the SharePoint site. The reason I'm not showing it automated is because as I demo this, I want to be able to pause and explain the different steps and the different components involved in our solution, so that it's not just boom, magic, there it is. So I'm showing you, this is the site that in beta and in production will automatically tie that fax to for this environment. So let's go back.
Just so I'm clear, this is a channel. This is a Teams channel. So if I were to name a channel like HR as an example, because everyone's like, there's usually PII involved in in HR, some privacy stuff in HR. So there's a lot of faxing going on in HR department. So I can go create an HR department, add some people to my HR department, my teams, and my fax can feed into the group.
Yep. So you can see in my settings, I have other SharePoint sites that I could dump this to. You got a sales group, you got a sales queue, you've got all these different things. So yeah, if you create and it doesn't have to be a Teams group SharePoint, it could be just a native SharePoint. But if you want to collaborate inside of Teams, then yes, you need to make it a Teams enabled group so that you can tie the fax to Teams as well outside of our fax app. So let's go back to the receive faxes. I'm going to open that fancy little banner or fax banner back up, and I'm going to, again, this will be automated in beta going forward, but for demo in alpha, I want to show it in stages. So I'm going to go ahead and save that out to SharePoint, and you'll see the document's been saved. And if I pop back over to my SharePoint site, which is also my Teams group, and I pop into my fax folder, you'll see just a few seconds ago that fax showed up. So I now I have the ability to share that fax with other people in a secure fashion because now it's inside of the Microsoft ecosystem. It's encrypted at rest in SharePoint, and it now has it can be controlled through permissioning that is native to Microsoft Active Directory and not anything to do with our fax application. The other thing that I want to point out while this is a fresh file, and yes, I could open it right here. What I want to do is I want to quickly shift over to our Power Automate because I want to show what we're doing with Power Automate. So you saw that I got the fax in my SharePoint site. I can view it in the fax app. I obviously can see it in my SharePoint site. I could open that file from SharePoint, but from a modern workflow and business automation perspective, as a business, maybe I want to take that fax to the next level, right? I don't necessarily want to babysit the faxes on that fax line to a SharePoint. Maybe my team is working out of a CRM, doing processing work on new cases or new work items, and I want to keep them in that CRM. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Power Automate flow that ties that newly received fax to my CRM. And I've called this, just create new Salesforce case when new fax is received. And you can see a minute ago, I had a trigger that ran and it succeeded. And before we pop over to Salesforce to see if it actually created that ticket, I'm just going to show how easy Power Automate is to set up. Some people, I think they look at Power Automate and they think, oh, it's such a convoluted tool, and you can do some really, really powerful things with it. Especially,
Don't
you
tell
say
them.
something?
Don't tell them.
Don't-
I was gonna say, don't tell them how easy it
I
is.
mean, it's really complicated. I'm going to pop into this Power Automate flow, and I'm going to show you can see it's literally 3 trigger or one action and triggers. I'm going to figure out what the file is when it's created. I'm going to get the file properties, and then I'm going to push that based on those file properties. I'm going to find that file in SharePoint, and I'm going to push it over to a Salesforce record. So again, you can see you can begin to open the door, especially if you've got API experience. You can start developing some very customized things for how you trigger based on an action over here, in this case in SharePoint, based on a fax, on into a third-party system that could be any tool set that you're using. So let's pop over to Salesforce. You can see right now I have no cases. I'm going to refresh my view. We should see one new case. Boom. So I've got a case number 1038, new fax received. You can see, this is Pacific time, so it was open 3 minutes ago. I want to pop into that. And again, I'm not going to get into what you can do with Salesforce because, that's a totally different beast. But now
Right.
I can start to work with my fax within Salesforce. So I'm passing in a description that says, hey, here's your fax. Here's your fax archive, and you could even attach the file if you wanted to. Again, didn't want to get into a lot of deep level details, so I'm just going to pop this link, and it's going to pop me right back over. There's my fax. So
from a productivity perspective, let's think about this from in a real sort of world workflow. Okay, so I look at this and I go, okay, a fax comes in, and maybe it's part of a team, maybe it's part of an intake form. I'm thinking healthcare, intake form, insurance form, whatever. It comes in, I can see it. I can see it because I see it in Teams. It comes to either me or to the group that I'm a part of, so I can see the fax. But now you're saying that magically that fax is now popped into a case in Salesforce or in a healthcare environment, into Cerner, into some sort of platform that they're using for customer sort of management at that point. Just
Yeah.
auto magically just pops it in.
Yep, and again, the flexibility is there because now you own, from our app perspective, the way we've designed our application is you own the data as the consumer of that fax service, right? We're not retaining that data. We're storing that data in your environment, and now it's like any other data, right? You can do, the your imagination is your limitation, right? You can do anything you want with that data. Another example that I was talking to another another entity interested in beta was, because you now have that data at rest in a secure location. Imagine the ability to take that and tie it to things like OCR tools and data loss prevention tools, where now you can receive that fax and you can trigger, say, data loss prevention tools to come in and scan those documents for sensitive data that maybe you as a company should never have received. Or on the sending side, if I go to send a fax, I can pause that before it moves into the fax workflow, meaning out to our fax app, and I can scan it with my data loss prevention, and I can start to screen and say, "Whoa, user, you shouldn't be sending this fax. We're flagging this for, potential data leak." So OCR, the ability to lift stuff out of an image, create dynamic text, make it editable, make it so people can work with that content. Again, your imagination is your limitation with the data that now is in your environment.
So just so I'm gonna throw something else out there. This is a couple of just a comment. I feel like we've basically made faxing sexy. Okay, number one.
The
Number
Lamborghini
two,
fax.
that's right. Number two, I look at this and go, you know, if you don't have to print faxes anymore. Now, look, everybody's got a lot. Most everybody, not most everybody, but a lot of people still now have eFax, right? But for those organizations that are coming off of a Cisco platform and they're using a normal phone system, and maybe haven't converted to eFax, maybe they're still getting some fax machines out there. There's like a lot of money spent on printers, or not printers, but ink. This is just a comment from yesterday on how much a healthcare organization spends in ink. Now, I would love for a healthcare organization to send me a note and go, how much do you spend on ink by printing the faxes? So they come in, maybe they don't print automatically. Maybe you don't need to print them automatically. Maybe they're not on the machine. But ultimately, if you've got to fill them out, okay, so if you've got to fill this, where I'm going with this, if you've got to fill the form out, or check a box, or sign off on a whatever it is, right? You're printing that. Let's say a doctor signing off on that. Then what happens? It's rescanned to get back into a digital format to do something with, right? So what you basically said is an OCR stuff. You can take that fax in, you do some OCR stuff, and I guess at some point, then I'm thinking, isn't there a way at some point to just kind of mark it up, fill it out, check a box, do a signature, those sorts of things?
Yeah, I mean, again, the flexibility is there. I'm not going to get into any details on things that we may be working on. Just for sake of, obviously we've reached out to some attorneys on certain things, wink wink, so we don't want to talk about too much stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of flexibility you can do with data once you're able to put your hands on it, electronically speaking. And again, imagination is the limitation, and you and I both know where our imagination is at, and this goes way beyond probably even facts. But facts being one of those things where it's a very static document that we want to make dynamic, right? We want to bring it into the modern work era, and we want to make it a flexible and secure and reliable solution. And one other thing I'll point out is, as we attempt to go dominate the space in this arena, wink wink, one of the things that we're going to do is it allows us to truly securely encrypt fax end to end. So if you're healthcare organization over here and you've got an insurance billing agent over here and you need to fax a document and they happen to also be using this application, we're gonna end to end encrypt that data flow So now there's none of this. I wonder if a provider that's on the other end is also HIPAA compliant. Right now, we're making sure that that data stays between you and your business entity that you're doing business with.
Well, I would say that we were in stealth mode with all the features that we're doing, but we launched beta yesterday. We launched beta yesterday, and we're telling the world about what we want right now, where we're going now. It's not the official roadmap, folks. It's just some ideas. That's all. Just kicking them around. All right.
There's no competitors listening anyway, right? Hopefully.
Okay, what's next, Brandon? Let's see. So you show this is a fax. It pops into SharePoint. You built a case in Salesforce magically with Power Automate, and so you're able to kind of, what are some other things that you can do with the fax solution? And by the way, the chat, the beta is in the chat. So if you want to sign up for beta, go click that link and sign up for the beta so that you can take a look at how this fax solution works. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, again, what can you do with fax is, the fax itself, as we all know, that's pretty limited, right? It's data coming in and it's data going out. It's being transmitted and then being received on the other end, whether that's to a fax printer or whatever. I think what you can do with it is everything we just spoke to, right? It's once you hold that fax in today in the Microsoft environment, it's you as an organization now have the power to hook all of your other modern work functionality to that data, right? So
I think my heart skipped a beat when you said dynamic document. That was like, oh.
yeah, that dynamic document isn't something we have today, right? That's something that would rely on maybe an OCR tool to go do. So our fax app is, it's sleek. It's, it does everything it needs to do, right? I think the one thing that separates us from some of the competition right now from a Microsoft perspective is, a lot of these other fax applications, and this isn't to say anything disparaging of competition. It's, other fax vendors, they give the ability to share, like if I receive a fax, I can share it, and generally it's fax to email, right? So I go, oh, I got a fax and I want to share it with Rick. In my fax app, that's the competitors, I would share that fax and I'd put Rick Garcia's email in and send that fax on, and it may send you a URL that allows you to securely access that file. But what this is doing is it's allowing an organization to bring file share into the same ecosystem that other file sharing is occurring in. So it's streamlining the file share, compliance restrictions that an organization may have on, are you allowed to share things externally? Are you allowed to share things internally, instead of having yet another vendor provider out there that now a security group has to try to maintain compliance around?
I was going to say, so that now your own security policies then overrule, or not overrule, but your security policies now then grant whatever access you need and control the documents, sort of shareability and collaboration sort of, requirements.
Yeah, so when you start thinking about, when you go back and you start talking about Microsoft and the bigger ecosystem, like from, let's say, a Teams phone deployment perspective, where you can create security groups around policies and rules. So like, let's say I have a new employee, I'm onboarding a new employee, I'm going to place them in different security groups to pick up different policies. So, today companies may automatically roll out that Teams phone license to a user, and based on the group they get placed in, it's going to automatically apply their calling policies, right? That's the other advantage to an application like this that's now built into your Active Directory in a compliant fashion, because now I can also control things around, companies probably already have sharing policies applied based on the groups that you live in, right? So are you allowed to share? Aren't you allowed to share? And based on that alone, when I now drop a user into maybe a fax group that activates them for, oh, now you're part of these fax groups, you can access the fax app. I can also automatically pick up those file share permissions for that user, and I can begin to lock them down. So there's less, it's more one-touch deployment for organizations because they don't have to swivel chair off to another vendor to say, oh, I now need to set up the user over here and I need to make sure they have these permissions, etc. It's now just a part of your Entra ID onboarding process.
Love it. Love it. Brandon, this is awesome. I mean, this is a game changer for organizations. I know again, fax is fax, right? But this is really, really it is kind of game changing. I saw a note this morning on LinkedIn. It is kind of game changing. I think we're going to help a ton of healthcare organizations, insurance, finance organizations, government agencies, education institutions. I'm pretty excited to deliver this to the world. What else are you going to show us, Brandon? You have anything else technical that we're going to talk about today?
I mean, I think that was kind of technically it at a high level, right? I don't want to get so lost in the weeds. You know how it is sometimes you're like, dude, you need to you need to back out. You're
Well,
talking too much about this.
we'll save we'll save the next beta, and that has to do with click to chat and click to call. We'll save that for another show.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess maybe I'll just reiterate, like, I think it's really important to iterate. The design around this application is with full compliance in mind, right? When we sat down and we started whiteboarding this and we began creating the wireframes and the customer journey and all of the whiteboard sessions that I did with the developers, right out of the gate, one of the things that I said was it has to be secure from every aspect that's imaginable. We have to lock this thing down because at the end of the day, we want to be able to guarantee that if you're in healthcare, you're in finance, you're in some organization that requires absolute compliance around, PII and data security, we're going to deliver that. And we set out with this mindset of, even if you're an organization that doesn't require compliance and security, we're for lack of a better way to say it, we're going to cram security down your throat anyway, because we're not going to design this application with I don't need it, therefore I'm not going to turn it on. It's on for everyone. So whether you're that SMB that just has fax lines for whatever reason that doesn't need compliance, you're getting compliance anyway. And I think that's a testimony to how solid the development for this app has been. And it's a testament to how serious we are about security around this application. So things that are coming is, again, I didn't demo it here because it's a lot more to demo, is the way we're going to put controls around it for enterprises to be able to lock it down so that users can't choose their OneDrive or their SharePoint locations. We're going to lock it down. So a couple things you see, like when I receive a fax, I have the ability to save it here. That's going to push it off to the SharePoint. That's going to probably go away. And this is just going to be an open that URL. One thing that we will allow restriction to is if I click download, that's going to download the file to my computer. I don't want to do that, but we're going to allow the administrator of enterprises to choose whether that's a feature that's supported or not from an end user perspective. Because again, compliance is a big deal. If I'm restricting file sharing and file access in SharePoint, why would I maybe want to allow an end user to be able to download that file? So those
Yeah.
are things that, again, we can demo as as we interview beta customers. But for general audience, I think socializing it probably paints that picture of, we will come to the table with options to make sure that you meet your compliance requirements.
Love it. Love it. Well, that's awesome. And what a cool show. I love that we're launching this product, our own developed product. And I love that we've got a lineup of other products behind that. So that's pretty exciting as we develop around the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. So it's pretty fun where we sit here at Momentum. Um, there's plenty of reasons to look at why you would choose Momentum, and putting ancillary services like this fax to Teams around the solution is just one of them. So it's pretty cool. Brandon, that's all we have today for the show. Not a whole lot beyond that. We just wanted to share the fax application with everyone. We wanted to get it out there. We wanted to the registrations. I keep getting one probably every 10 minutes. A beta registration. So there's quite a few of them there now. If you are one of the beta companies and you're listening, we're going to we'll reach out to you. You would have seen thank you. We're going to reach out to you over the next few weeks to work out the engagement. So.
Yep, and I think as we wrap up, I'm good on the facts. I'm just going to say I think we've got our next couple shows booked on topics, but you had briefly mentioned click to call, click to chat. I'm hoping, in the coming episodes, that's more modern work stuff that we're looking at to, you and I have socialized this before, and we have our developers creating the methodology on how to go roll this out to, whether you're a small business or you're a, massive enterprise. But, I'm going to use some terminology here that we can either brand it this way or not. I'm thinking on the fly, so our listeners get to hear me. But Rick, this click to call, where in my idea that I've socialized with you, is your enterprise website becomes your IVR. So no more dialing this toll-free number, and for billing, press 1, for sales, press 2, for blah, 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 press 3. We're gonna create a click to call that's dynamic, that follows you through the websites, that presents the correct click to call logic. So if I'm looking at product A, there's going to be this click to call that follows me there, that gives me the ability to click to call. I can maybe even escalate, or click to chat. I can escalate to video if I want. And instead of me now as the consumer needing to navigate some convoluted IVR, the website becomes the IVR, virtually speaking, and drops you right into the team that can handle product A, versus maybe I'm off. I click on support on the website because I need support. That click to call is going to logically take me into the support organization, so I don't have to, again, try to navigate my way through some convoluted IVR.
Well, one of the things that's always bugged me, Brandon, is the if you go to a website and you see the chat icon at the bottom right-hand side of a website, and that's really bugged me. And it's how many times have you passed that over? How many times have you not engaged with it? How many times you just kind of go, there's nobody manning that, so I don't really use it, right? What we're developing is essentially going to make that dynamic and engaging, and address specific things on the site. So as like you mentioned, if I need to go and exchange an airline ticket, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go to support and go exchange my airline ticket. Click on exchange my airline ticket. Now you can do it all via chat. You can certainly do that with some new Gen AI tools out there, right? But if you have Microsoft Teams, we're going to make your website a communications portal. Yeah, it's going to be a communications portal for your customers. It's going to bring your customers, your partners. It's going to bring them closer to you, because everybody's going to be just a click away, in a single environment. So it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited about that. Enough about the click to call stuff, but we do have 2 episodes lined up next week and the week after, centered around contact center. So if you're interested in understanding, there's a couple of different contact center versions we're going to go through. We've got Ollie coming to the show next week, and he's going to go over Luware. It's an integrated extend model platform. We're going to show you what Luware looks like. We do sell Luware services, full disclosure, here at Momentum. So as we combine our Operator Connect services, direct routing services, with the contact center, we bring in a Luware contact center. But then we're also going to see Chris Goodwill's got something that's pretty awesome. He's going to show us the Microsoft Digital Contact Center platform. And that is something that is really interesting, because it's pulling from a lot of different, again, from the Microsoft ecosystem, and adding some nuance components to it, right? And nuance is the voice recognition, voice sort of voice that does all the voice stuff for Microsoft, right? That's nuance. If you go the you go to an IVR that's Teams enabled, or the Teams IVR, that's and you use the voice recognition, that's nuance. So it brings in nuance into this contact center. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I've not seen a demo of it, Brandon. It's going to be all new to both of us. I'd love to see what that ecosystem looks like and what components of the Microsoft ecosystem are brought into that digital contact center platform by Microsoft. So it's pretty cool. So next couple episodes, that's what we're all about.
Yep, exciting times in this ever evolving ecosystem, right?
I love it. I love it. All right, Brandon, send us out, buddy. Let's go. You got
Yeah.
any questions? Wait. Before I do that, you got any questions? There's the beta app, or you can hit us up on Messenger, on LinkedIn. Let us know if you have any questions, and a lot of you have all my contact info anyway. But let us know if you have some questions. Brandon, take us out.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing who signs up, and at least from Denver, Colorado, a beautiful 80-degree day. So, if it's sunny where you're at, get out, enjoy the beautiful day, enjoy your weekend, and we will catch you next week on, I think, episode 59 of Everything Teams Phone Live. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone. See ya.